We are here on the 24th day of August, part 2 of our film speeches, where we're learning to express emotions to make our stories more sticky. One thing I'd suggest, and can you lose the sunglasses?
Yes.
They make you look like a valley girl. Okay, and we're looking around the room. Everyone's paying attention. No one's texting. Everyone's got their computers and phones away. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi, I'm Grayson.
Hi, Grayson.
So life moves pretty fast, and if you don't stop and look around every once in a while, you could miss it. So the movie I'm going to share with you guys today is called Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and it's definitely one of my favorites. This movie made me laugh, this movie made me feel adventurous, and made me reminiscent. So what is so significant about this movie is it really reminds us to stop and smell the roses. As seen in Time Magazine's article, Ferris and his adventures really represent the teen's dream of glory. So the first way this film made me feel was it made me laugh. And this film is very humorous, especially the first scene, which is my favorite. So Ferris has convinced his parents that he is too ill to go to school, and when his sister walks in the room and finds out, she's furious. She tells her parents that they would always make her go to school even if she was bleeding out of her eyes, and it was so unfair. And this particular scene really made me laugh because I have a sibling, and my younger sister is very, very good at convincing my parents that she's sick. And so I sympathized a lot with Ferris's sister because I was never good at convincing my parents that I could stay home from school because I was ill. And although Ferris's adventures that day were very different to my sister's daily sick days, it really did make me laugh and have that connection on a different level. The second way this film, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, made me feel it made me feel adventurous. So Ferris spends the majority of the film convincing his best friend Cameron to loosen up and to live a little. And Cameron spends the whole film trying to soothe Ferris's wild side, which first causes them to steal Cameron's father's Ferrari. The second thing makes them do is sneak into a fancy restaurant pretending to be the Sausage King of Chicago. The third thing it makes them do, and the last thing, was it gets Ferris invited to perform on a float in a parade. And so this is way just over Cameron's head, and he struggles the whole movie with dealing with how he could have a best friend as crazy and as, fun and lighthearted as Ferris. And this really made me feel adventurous because it made me wish that I had my own Ferris Bueller to kind of lighten me up and help me make memories. And it also reminded me of childhood and how we were all adventurous and curious about everything. We want to make memories and experiences, and we have fewer inhibitions. And so it allows us to really see the world how it is, like Ferris does. The third way this film made me feel was it made me feel really reminiscent. So the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off is my best friend and I's favorite movie, and it's been our favorite movie for years. In my mind, I can see us sitting on the couch from 5th grade through my senior year of high school, just watching this movie and laughing every single time. It's one of those movies that if you haven't seen her in a really, really long time, you can get back together, sit down and watch this movie, and it's almost like time hasn't passed at all. So this movie is definitely really significant, not only to me, but all of us, because it reminds us that time is really precious and it's really limited, and that you should really stop and appreciate it and stop to smell the roses.
Thank you. $3.35.
I'm a fast talker.
Hi, I'm Monique.
Hi, Monique.
I really enjoyed your speech. You were clear, you were monotone, I didn't get bored, and there was a structure to it all the way. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Improvement.
Hi, I'm Regan.
Hi, Regan.
I admire your brave because no one responds to the professor when he said and volunteer. So I think improvement. I don't think you have to improve. It's very good.
She's perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, you're perfect. Okay, good.
I already know one improvement.
What's
I
that?
forgot to move again.
Right. So let's start there. Let's see you move. So she's going to go to the right.
Oh, left first, see? Okay.
Okay, let's go to the right first. Okay. Okay, now, and when you come to a stop, come to the power stance, let me suggest you were looking down at your feet as you walk. So try to walk without looking at your feet. And so just let me command you and then do it. You're going to step with your foot to the right, not looking down, and you're going to continue to cheek forward and not do the scissor step, but
Okay.
let it cross over. Yeah. And come to a stop that way. Work this side of the room, glance over there, pull in these people. Now step, whoa, you don't cross that way. Step with that foot. Keep cheating forward, and one more, and then work this side of the room, look that way, and now step with your right foot to, yeah, that's walking. Now, Grayson, if you practice walking in your speaking at home with a study buddy or your mother or lover or a homeless guy, it will, you'll do it naturally when you're up here. You won't have to be remember. I was going to go like that, whatever. So, you started off with a quote, life moves pretty fast. You don't stop on the ground once in a while. You can miss it. You ended up turning back with the roses quote. And these were good sentiments and good tie back. Chose a good movie that most of the students in here probably have seen and can relate to. 3 emotions, laugh, adventurous, and reminiscent. And you quoted Time magazine in your SIG statement. Forgot the date, so remember date, everyone, date.
I know
you
the
don't
date.
have the date. Okay, I know you know the date.
I think it's 2008, but it may not be in
Right.
the citation.
But if you don't have the date written in on your page, write it in now so you don't forget it. So, you first said laugh, and you spent a lot of time talking about how your sister was a good faker and tricking your parents into letting her stay home. It would have been useful, since you had the time, to mention one of her exploits, a faked broken toe or something that was funny, some more detail. But then return to the emotion, and that's why I was laughing so much. On adventurous, you gave us a quick breakdown of what the Sausage King and so forth, the Ferrari and so forth. And then you reminisced about your childhood and how things were a lot. You were more adventurous, and it would have been helpful to have heard you mention an adventure or two that you had taken or done, and been more curious and so forth. That would have been helpful. On your third emotion, it was reminisce, and I could feel the reminiscent of you sitting on the couch with your friend. That was a good word picture. I could see you sitting there laughing and reminiscing and seeing that happen, so that was good. Summary, conclusion, and tie back were fine. You said don't talk so fast. Have a longer speech. Move through the speech to different points in the room. How did it go?
Didn't move.
Yeah.
I did still talk, or I talked slower definitely than I talked last
Yeah.
time, but I did pick it up, the speed, so it was important.
Okay. And if you can, if you need to put in a stomp, if that will get you to break that quick pattern of yours. But I think mainly it's just you need to, what we do call adequate development, add more details, more examples, and you'll be fine. Thank you for your nice job, Gracie. Another volunteer. Thank you. Okay, Alicia stands before us. Boy, you're tall. Okay, yeah, and you're perfectly in the center. Managing attention, communicating respect, non-verbally saying to herself, I respect my audience and mean it. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi, I'm Alicia.
Hi, Alicia.
When asked what makes a great movie, Alfred Hitchcock replied, make your audience suffer as much as possible. It's not what you'd expect, especially since he was famous for horror films. When you think about those movies that really touched you, they're not the ones that just made you laugh. They made you cry. They made you feel this deep pain that helped you appreciate your own life. I'm going to share with you a film that really moved me called Waitress. It's the story of a woman named Jenna who's in an unhappy marriage, and all she wants to do is win a bake-off to get money to leave her husband. She finds out she's pregnant, starts an affair, and at the end realizes the only love she needs is that of her daughter. According to Carmen Gray from the film magazine Sight and Sound, this movie is just like the ingredients of the pie that helped win Jenna the bake-off. Full of ingredients you wouldn't expect to go together, but combined to make something quite delectable. And I agree completely, because this movie has some very significant themes that I know you will appreciate, such as domestic violence and adultery and courage, which are all told in a way that's surprisingly quirky and relatable. So first, this film really frustrated me. And the way it did that was in a scene when Jenna is waiting at the bus stop with her bag in hand, ready to go to this bake-off after her husband told her she couldn't go. Then her husband comes up blaring the car horn, slaps her in the face, and tells her she has to go home. I've never had anything like that, but it reminds me when I was in India for a few months over the summer, and my brother and I, who were 10 and 7 at the time, were going to fly back home for our very first time without our parents, while my mom was to stay back for another few weeks. We were all ready to go, but the day before the flight, I got extremely anxious and was so worried to go home without the comfort of my mom with me. So I ended up canceling my ticket and decided to go with my mom a few weeks later. I didn't return to a broken home like Jenna, but I did feel that frustration and regretted not having the courage to go on that journey by myself and really take that next step. So it really frustrated me. The next thing it made me feel was empowered. And at the very end of the movie, Jenna does bake a cake, a pie actually, that wins her the bake-off. And she did this all on her own without any of her husband's help or anything. And this reminded me of back when I was in high school in my senior year. I was competing at this music festival where I played flute, and you're scored in front of judges. I was so nervous to play in front of everyone, but then my first teacher came up to me and told me to get lost in my own world. Just like Jenna, I closed my eyes and played my heart out. And it turned out I got straight superiors, which is the highest score you can get, and was called back to perform later in that night. I was amazed that something that I did all on my own could really show that success, and that was extremely empowering. Finally, this film made me feel nostalgic. The final scene in the movie, Jenna is singing while she bakes a pie with her little daughter, Lily. This reminded me back in Pennsylvania when I was 3, and I would help my mom make food. She didn't bake, but she made aloo paratha, which is basically potatoes stuffed in bread. And so I'd help her mash potatoes, and I loved the potatoes. So one day I decided to be very sneaky and go run behind the couch and eat the potatoes. Now, the back of my couch actually faces the kitchen, so if you're above 3, it's kind of easy to find me. So my mom actually found me and just started laughing and put some aside for me, and I just really appreciated it. And also my nickname when I was little was Lulu, so it just kind of related very well. So in summary, I've shared with you 3 ways in which this film moved me. It made me feel frustrated, it empowered me, and it made me feel very nostalgic. Most of all, though, it made me suffer. I went through Jenna's journey with her, and It really brought me to tears, and if Alfred Hitchcock could see the tears streaming down my face and the pain that I was in, I think he would say it was a successful movie.
Thank you. 422. Have we heard from you? No.
I think it's a perfect speech, especially
Say your name, please.
Oh, yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm George.
Hi, George.
I love your speech, especially your personal part. I mean, the interesting story, and which is closely connected to the film, and to share us with your feelings and make us just feel the same. And I think it is mostly because you have the important and the perfect stories of yourself, and I think he's a perfect one. Thanks.
Thank you, George. Improvement?
Hi, I'm Evelyn.
Hi, Evelyn.
Yeah, I love your speech. You focus on the story and your emotion. And I think maybe you can improve in the introduction part, a more vivid one, I think.
Okay, good. That's a good thought. Gosh, you started with Alfred Hitchcock, and I like quotes, as you know, and it's sort of apropos because he did those suspenseful movies where you had to suffer a lot and almost have a heart attack. I don't know if you've seen many Hitchcock movies, but you know, where the woman in the shower was stabbed and so forth, and you know, they're all, he knows how to work the tension and then release it, and really makes you work for your films. And is the guy gonna get caught or not? And you know, you really do suffer through his films, but it's worth it, you know. And so I liked your quote a lot, and I liked the way you tied back to it. I thought it was very thoughtful. On the film you chose, Waitress, yes, good film. And you told us that it empowered you, it frustrated you, and made you feel nostalgic. Your quote from Carmen Gray was fine. You left out the date. And you did talk about some serious themes, domestic violence, adultery, and so forth. So that was a good SIG statement. I like the way you got this all in within the time limit, because this was nearly a perfect speech. On frustration, you told us that you were supposed to fly from India to California, but you were afraid, and so you gave in to your fear, and you were angry at yourself for being a coward. And you were hitting and hurting yourself because mentally, because you didn't stand up to your fears and fly alone or with your brother. So that was good storytelling, and I thought you expressed your frustration at not seizing that moment, that carpe diem, well. On your second emotion of feeling empowered, yes, I could feel you be empowered when your conductor or teacher or whatever he was, your coach, said just lose yourself in your music, and you did, and it paid off because there was a connection between your heart, your emotions, and your music, and you clearly made a connection with the judges. It just wasn't someone blowing notes, you know, on a page out into the audience, as you've heard some people mechanically play the flute, not like Paul Horn plays the flute, right? Yeah. So that was a good story of empowerment. So I like that story, and I like the way you came back to it. On your third story, you stole the potatoes. I don't know, nostalgic, and you were called Lulu. I guess this was a story. It was sort of cute and funny. It wasn't much of a story, but it was okay. Your summary was fine, your conclusion was fine, and your tie back to Hitchcock was excellent. You said work on making more purposeful and less repetitive hand gestures, face the audience when I walk in each direction, have a more direct and clear tie back to my introduction. How did it go?
I definitely think my tie back was more clear this time.
Yes.
I walked and I think that I was facing the audience this time.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Last time I went like too much with hand gestures. I definitely felt myself try and keep my hands at my side more, so I don't know if it looked more forced, but
It did.
Yeah.
I wrote that at the top here. I said, loosen up with your arms. You were overcompensating the other way. So you want to just try to find the happy medium if you can. But you did a really excellent job, Alicia. Thank you. Okay, any more volunteers? Yeah, excellent. Okay, let me get you in focus, Logan. There. Stay in the green square, please. Thank you. Yeah, you're perfect. Logan stands before you, managing attention, communicating respect, finding friendly eyes near the front, the center. Say your name, feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi everyone, I'm Logan.
Hi, Logan.
So, Pulitzer Prize winning film critic Roger Ebert once said, "Art is the closest we can come to understanding what a stranger feels." And I feel that way with films. Sometimes my favorite films are ones I have no surface relevance to, but they don't stop me from making me feel anything. Which was one of my favorite films. Today, I'm going to talk about is Menace to Society. And it made me feel angry, it made me feel hopeful, and it made me reflect upon myself. I know this film, Menace to Society, has themes that you're going to be interested in because it deals with gang violence, drugs, and it takes place in Watts in Los Angeles, so it's not that far away from here. And Angela McRobbie from the British film publication Sight and Sound in 1994 said that the themes of the film was disturbing, but didn't discount its emotional and political impact. But she also went on to say that she didn't like the fact that the film more celebrated the problems that it dealt with instead of putting it in a bad light. However, I disagree with that. I don't think the film did put it in a place that celebrated the issues that it dealt with. So the first way that this film made me feel was angry. Cade, the main character, constantly discounts everything that his grandparents do for him, and after they take him in, after his parents died, he doesn't appreciate anything. And this makes me feel really angry because my sister is almost the same exact way. My mom had my sister when she was 19 years old and essentially gave up her whole life for my sister. And I constantly watch my sister expect my mom to do everything for her continually, even though my sister is 28 years old now. She continues to not appreciate anything my mom does for her, and I felt that same way with Kane, how he didn't appreciate his grandparents. The second way that this film made me feel was hopeful, in the sense that Kane realizes that he's in a bad place and this is probably the worst it's going to get, and he wants to get better. So he decides to move south to Georgia to try and make his life better. And this made me hopeful because in the past year I've dealt with really hard problems with eating disorders, and I felt like I was in the darkest place that I could imagine myself. And I realized that you have to want to better for yourself to do better for yourself. And I felt that with Kane in the sense that he knew he was doing bad and he wanted to do better. And the third way that this film made me feel was it made me reflect upon myself, because Kane, as the main character, we kind of see him in a better light. We're like, Kane, he's not as bad as the other ones. He doesn't kill as much. He doesn't deal as much drugs, and he wants to do better. But then, in the film, someone that Kane had relations with called him and told him that, hey, like, Kane, I'm pregnant, and he completely discounted what she said and said, I don't have time for this. Like, this isn't my problem. And it kind of makes me realize that we might always think the best of ourselves, and I thought better of Kane, but sometimes that's not the way it is. And recently, I was walking on campus, and I saw a girl, and she seemed to be really sad, and she was by herself, and I did nothing for her, and I knew I could have. And it's like, sometimes I think I'm the greatest. I feel so good about myself, but I didn't help her, and that maybe I'm not always as good as I think I am. So, in summary, Menace to Society made me feel angry, hopeful, and reflect upon myself. And there should be no doubt in this room that it did all those things for me. And Angela McRobbie, the film critic, said that these problems were celebrated, but I don't think they were in any way. And although I have no surface relevance or relatability to someone living in Watts who's part of gang violence and all these things, I felt so much more relatable, even though technically we had nothing to relate over. So.
Thank you. 413. Yeah. Hi, Sierra.
I really liked your speech. I thought you did everything that was in the outline, and when you were displaying emotion, I really felt it from you more than any other speech today, so I liked it.
Yeah. Improvement.
I'm Ian.
Hi, Ian.
I thought you did a really good job with conveying emotion as well. I felt like I really felt it. The one thing you could improve on maybe is eye contact and just maintaining better eye contact throughout.
Yeah, that's a good thought. Yeah, this is your best speech, Logan. Roger Ebert. Okay. Yeah, and that is the power of art, whether it be To Kill a Mockingbird or it's Menace to Society. It may be ostensibly be a story about Watts and some, quote, ghetto characters, but it had universal themes that you were able to tease out and show us that they related to you, and I appreciate that very much. I appreciated the way you handled the quote. You had the year, and you said you disagreed with the film critic about it being celebrated, and there is a tendency in some of these films to celebrate that life, which is sad. On your first way, anger, you talked about your ingrate 28-year-old sister that your mother does a lot for, and your sister doesn't appreciate it, and she's not very thankful. I could feel your anger. I think more effective also would be for you to, at the end, come back to and say, and that's why I feel so angry. And it's helpful to give her a name, even if you don't want to name her name. Say, and Susie has got a new BMW, and she never says thanks once. My mother picks up the tab for dinner. She never picks up the tab. And that's why I'm so angry at Susan. See what I'm saying? It makes it a more real story. On your second story on Hopeful, I appreciate you having the courage to share with us you have an eating disorder that you're struggling with, and I thought that was courageous. And you drew the parallels with someone else dealing with problems and you dealing with a similar problem. And I thought that was really excellent, and I wish you the best on that. On your third emotion, where the setup was the pregnancy of the girl and that sort of thing, you saw, and I like the way you portrayed yourself, because you weren't portraying yourself as a saint. You said you saw a girl on campus look really sad, instead of taking a moment and saying, hey, how you doing, is everything cool? You just sort of went on to your class or to get your boba or whatever you were going to do, and you didn't take the moment to stop. And I thought that was pretty good. I liked the humanness of that. Your summary was good. Conclusion was good. Tie back to Roger Ebert was fine. Do not use excessive hand gestures. Be more fluid. Make better eye contact. How'd that go?
First two were better, but then make it as good as eye contact.
Yeah, what's this about eye contact? What's the story on that?
What do you mean?
Why is it you're avoiding eye contact, or do you,
I
or?
don't know. I feel like I like look to the same place a lot. Not like I don't try to look. I just kind of look away.
Okay, well, try to make the 3 to 5 seconds all around and make it to different spots in different places. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, do we have another volunteer? Okay, I'll call on someone. How about... No, I won't call on her. Ori. She went. We don't have enough time? Oh, we have enough time. Sure we do. Tran went. Okay. Logan went. Okay. Alicia went. Oh. I'm running out of names. We'll get one more, Anna. How about X Zinglang Wang? Who's that? Who is this? I don't have the right name. Who's Wang? Is there a Wang? Xinglan? Wong Wang? No? Okay, how about ZHEA? No, that's not an A. Okay. Abraham! Come on down. We gotta get these in. Okay, rock and roll, Abraham. Get it done. 4 minutes. You're in the box. Roll.
Yep. So, start with a quote from Victor Hugo. He once said that music expresses something things that are impossible to say, but it's also impossible to be silent about. And so, usually for movies though, when they have music, when they have things, usually people feel like more emotions. But for me, I usually don't feel anything. Like a lot of movies, I just look at it and it's just a movie. And even for like really sad movies, where people like make me cry, I end up I just chuckle to myself and I'm like, why are you crying? So that's kind of how I feel about movies. But today I will tell you about one film that actually did move me. It gave me, I felt a little emotion. And this movie, it made me feel joyful, made me feel sympathetic, and it made me feel grateful. And this movie is Les Miserables. And it covers some significant themes that I think that you guys will, that are kind of relevant, I think, today, even though the setting is kind of different. As it says from Peter Travers, it says in the Rolling Stone in the December 2012 issue, he says that besides being a feast for the eyes and ears, Les Miserables overflows with, heartbreak, humor, arousing action, and arousing romance. And damn the imperfections, it's perfectly marvelous. So, the first way it made me feel was joyful, and the scene that made me feel joyful was actually at the very beginning, when Jean Valjean, he's a criminal on parole, he went to a church and he tried to steal, he got caught, but the priest there was very gracious to him, and he forgave him, and he just let him go. And because of this, Jean Valjean sings a song which talks about how, his life is now claimed for God above, and how he's going to turn away from his life of wrongdoing. And this scene, although it may not seem very joyful, made me joyful because, for one, as a Christian, I saw like a Christian scene in a Hollywood movie, and I thought that was pretty cool. And the other reason it made me joyful was because it reminded me of my own Christian life as a sinner, deserving of death. But God, He is gracious and He forgives. And I know that there's a God who takes care of me, even though sometimes life gets crazy. Finals or friends or parents, whatever it may be, it gets really crazy. And there's a God that I can trust in. So that's why it makes me feel joyful. Now, the second way the film made me feel was sympathetic. And the scene that made me feel sympathetic was when Fantine, she's a single mother, she gets kicked out of work, so she has to turn to prostitution in order to support her child. And after going through all that she goes through, she sings a song called I Dreamed a Dream, and the end of the song, the lyrics go like this. I had a dream that my life would be so different from this hell I'm living, so different from what it seems, but now life has killed that dream I dreamed. And the reason I feel really sympathetic about this part of this movie is because these past couple of years I've been working with a lot of homeless people, and usually homeless people, people look down on them because they seem kind of like, a little dirty, maybe like unrespectable, and like, a lot of people think about them like, oh, they deserved it, or they could have just done better and they would have gotten somewhere. Right? But after working along with these people, I found out, like, these guys are like humans, right? And all of them, they had dreams, they had aspirations, they had goals, just like each and every one of us. And so that made me feel really sympathetic, because like Fantine, she had dreams, but life took a turn for the worse, and that's what happened. So it reminds me that people are more than their outside appearances, more than the circumstances they did. And so the last way that this film made me feel was grateful. And the scene that made me feel grateful was when Jean Valjean, he goes out of his way to risk his life to save his daughter's lover, even though he doesn't quite approve of it. And he knows that his daughter would be happy because of this. And then even after he saves that boy, he goes away, not expecting anything in return. And this reminds me of my dad, who for the past 20 years of my life has basically worked to raise me and care for me. And he's a construction worker, so he physically labors in order to make ends meet. And I'm really grateful for that, because sometimes I see him come home, his hands are, there's paint on it, his shirt's like dirty, dusty, and sometimes even he has like cuts on his hands. And he's still like, during those times, he came home, he would give me rides to school, he would cook meals for me, he would even find time to hang out with me and play basketball with me. So I was really grateful and basically reminded by that from this movie. So in summary, I've told you about how this movie made me feel joyful, made me feel sympathetic, and made me feel grateful. There should be no doubt in this room that Les Miserables really moved me. And so, this movie, with all its song and music, was able to poke at even my, non-existent heart.
Thank you. Really quickly.
Hi, I'm Carolyn.
Hi, Caroline.
I really liked the flow of your speech. It was really well constructed. I think you said your emotions really well.
Improvement.
Hi, I'm Alicia.
Hi, Alicia.
I think that maybe it's the same thing, improvement-wise, that you were doing before. It's just this kind of a little bit repetitive. But
Yeah. Really quickly, your hand gestures are repetitive. You use the filler, you know a lot. Watch yourself tonight on YouTube and count the number of times you use those as you-fillers, YouTube. And try to cut them out. That'll make you more effective. I like the way you said movies don't move me. That was kind of a catchy intro, and you tied back to that, so that was cool. I would have liked you to have talked about two of your sins that you've been forgiven for. That would have been helpful for your first story. Unsympathetic, you work with the homeless. This has made you feel sympathetic toward them. Pretty good story. Repeat the emotion at the end. And finally, your dad, you're grateful to him. He sacrifices you. He works his ass off for you, makes you dinner, drives you to school, and even plays basketball with you. Yes, you should be grateful to him, and that was well communicated, and that was a good story. Your summary, your conclusion, and tie back were good. You said, talk clear, don't study. Move efficiently, not too excessively. Emphasize keywords and express emotion. How to go?
I think for the first one, I don't stutter. At the very beginning, I was really nervous, so I really stuttered a little bit, but I think it got better. I moved better. I think I moved like 3 times, so that's good. And yeah, probably the last one was.
The last one was emphasize words through, emphasize emotion
Yeah,
through
I
volume.
don't quite did that.
Okay, thank you everyone for waiting for the last speech. Appreciate it. Oh yeah, I'm giving out the final right now, so don't leave without getting it. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Sure. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Thank you so much.
Gotta be a more efficient way to do this. What?
I forgot to give you my email.
I'll staple it together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Her name is Evelyn. She's wearing a cat shirt. That's from Hello Kitty.
It's not Hello Kitty, I think.
She's back.
So I wanted to explain. I had a tryout for the national team for soccer.
Yeah.
I came back today at 11 and I just didn't have, like I just wasn't prepared to
Yeah,
speak.
okay.
So I apologize for that. It's like shouldn't be an excuse, but if I could still go on Wednesday.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
You know, you have to get knocked down a little for
Yeah.
getting extra time.
Yeah, I understand, but I just
Yeah, okay.
just wanted to explain my situation.
That's cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a couple questions about the personal commitment
Yeah.
speech.
Can I have this?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll wait
Yeah.
till. Okay, for the significant statement, I don't know if you wanted to read mine and see if it suffices, but
Yes, that's perfect.
okay. And then the last question I had was for my summary. I found it kind of repetitive if I were to go into like exactly what my reasons were and my
Yeah,
actions.
you don't have.
Is
It
okay
doesn't
if
have
I
to be detailed.
Okay, okay, perfect. That's it. Thank
Two
you.
reasons, 3 actions. And
Yeah, I'm not quite clear about the theme. So,
What?
I'm not quite clear about the theme. What is the personal commitment to something?
I'm going to show a model next time in class. It's something you care about, something personal, private, like are you personally committed to playing the violin, or world peace, or there's a page on the class website for peace, personal commitment topic, or go to the website, Thomas Miller personal commitment speeches, and watch them.
Okay.
You'll get some ideas for different themes that students chose.
Thank you.
There he is.
Anyone else have?
Anybody, any more questions?
I don't want to steal anyone else.
So the apostate is back.
Well, I talked to somebody. They said there was only 3 speeches, and I'm pretty sure I could. You guys did
Only
only
3, no, we have 5.
No, there are 3 that has happened up until today.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I can have them done by Wednesday.
By the way, I don't like hats in class, so lose the hat.
Oh, for now, I won't wear a hat for now.
Thank you.
My eyes looks horrible today.
No, I don't care. Don't wear a hat in class.
So I mean, it's just those 3 speeches which I can have done by Wednesday, and then I can do 2 in class, 1 in office hours.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I can't take class time for you to make things up because
I can do
the
all 3 in
class
office
is too
hours.
large. Yeah, I guess we'll have to. Who's approved? Some counselors approve this?
No, yeah. So they just told me I can take a class. I just got to talk to the professor. They gave me a paper, And they said, because I just need one class as a student update, and they said just instructor approval, and they sign it. Then I just turn it back in, turn it into summer sessions, because this is my last class, and then I'm done.
What about your makeup of your other one? That's
Yeah, so
lapses and
I already have the extemp, and I just need to do the impromptu with you, right?
Yeah,
so I can do all that.
But that's already lapsed. So.
No, yeah, they said all I gotta do for that is just turn in a blue petition, and they turn it back into an incomplete.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I was saying. Like, this allows me an opportunity to take care of both classes, and I mean, your office hours is before class or after class?
After class.
Yeah, so on Wednesday I can do all 3 speeches after class.
Sure, if I wait.